Okay, YouTube land, what's good? This is your host from the Gulf Coast doing the most.
Doing the most.
Donte.
And Shellie.
We are the yin and yang of Short-Term Rentals podcast. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka. Animal noises.
Darn fools.
And cut.
Well, look who made it back. Yo, thank you for supporting the channel. We got a bunch of episodes filled with info on how we host, funny guest story with your boy Tay, current news with Shellie, and special guest appearances. Also feature some local music artists for the outro, so make sure you stick around to the end, my friend, and peep all the links in the description. Dropping gems. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
My son's birthday was on December 13th. I asked my son what he wanted, and my son wanted to rent a house at the lake and bring 6 of his friends. And so that's what we did. Kids, this house has games in the garage, like the air hockey, ping pong. They even have poker. They have a hot tub, and they have like a fire pit out back. And the lake is across the street. Kids, okay? We had somebody to come in and do, a company to come in and put in like a balloon arch. And for 2 hours in the daytime, we had a game truck. I pulled up, I didn't hear anything with no DJ. The kids were on the game truck quietly playing because they're gamers. Thank you guys for saying happy birthday to my son. The neighbors, I don't know if this is a color thing, and I don't want to feel like it, but my heart is completely broken that they didn't call and say like, hey, this is a warning, maybe you guys are too loud. Now remind you, we had a sip and paint with hot chocolate where they painted Sonic. Give me somebody's picture so I can show. I think it's one over here, baby girl, where they painted Sonic, drunk hot chocolate, and then my husband put the fire pit on and we went outside and told scary stories. Now you probably heard maybe 1 or 2 screams, but the kids were in the bed by 9 o'clock. What time did they call with the complaint?
Had to be like 11:30.
About 11:30, stating that it was loud over here.
They got complaints. It was a lot of noise.
Oh, complaints, a lot of noise.
They had a party bus.
We had a party bus, that they were watching us on camera.
They got a lot of videos from neighbors.
Oh, yeah, that they have videos, but nobody sent in. We're like, can you send us the proof, ma'am? Or can we see the videos? The kids were sleeping. We were on the phone. We were like, do you guys hear anything? The kids are watching a movie upstairs. It felt like a black thing. I came home to North Carolina, out to the lake. What lake is this? Where are we at? Mooresville? And all of the houses, there's like, this house sits in the middle and there's like 3 houses behind it where they can just sit and look at us. It feels like a colored thing, like I'm being honest.
So one of the things about this that I feel like is really weird, because people of color, we always are defensive about these kind of things, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I feel like there's justification, sometimes I feel like it's more paranoia, but you know, it's case by case. I always feel like what makes me feel like it could be a race thing is like the level of enforcement and the swiftness of it.
Right.
That is always like 2 signals to me that like this seems a little bit more severe and enforced quicker than normally or with other people. So when she says like they get these complaints and someone calls them, it's like, hey, you guys are too loud. It's like, do they get the opportunity to be quiet? Because it sounds like from what she's saying,
right,
they got a lot of complaints, they got video, they got all this evidence, a lot of evidence before even reaching out
supposedly,
and saying, hey, you guys look quiet, can you quiet down? Like, I'm like, who talks to them like human beings? Because that's happened to me before. It's like people want to build the case before they even reach out and say, hey, can you quiet down? That's odd to me. So if this happened the way it happened, it sounds like no one came to them and just said, hey, y'all a little loud, can y'all be quiet? And then also the fact that you're getting told to like leave, like when the host says like, hey, we're getting these complaints, like, do they get the opportunity to be like, okay, we're sorry, we'll be quiet from now on? She makes it seem like they got told they got to leave that night, and they probably had to say, can we at least stay till the morning? It's like, that's wild. Like, this is a family. Like, these are kids and a mom and dad. Like, you got to leave immediately. It's like big, we don't want you here energy. It's like, this is what you do to everybody. If they are a little noisy, they got to leave immediately for noise after you pay money to be somewhere. Right. So, you know, there could be some truth to that, man. It could be some truth. I know people think like people are over exaggerate with that, but it is whatever it is. I don't think that's the best way you handle someone who's being noisy at your property.
Listen, 100% absolutely wrong. It's a couple of key things when I watched this that stood out to me. And mind you, we're both on these groups with Yahoo Airbnb hosts. So there are some cray-crays out there, and I don't know that has anything to do with their race, just that you shouldn't be being a host, in Michelle's personal opinion, right?
That's an interesting point. Like, there's no vetting of hosts.
Well, there is some, but very little. It's not to the degree that you vet guests.
For sure. So you could have some really, you know, ill-intent people, not the best host people who are just hosting, and, you know, that is interesting to think about.
Right. And you talking about Airbnb platform, look at booking.com and VRBO. I mean, they have almost no vetting. Yeah. You know, and I can say that having put my stuff out there. Right. So, and that is why, to be honest, they don't even own these. You know, you've seen the other side where you have the people who have put a house on Airbnb they don't even own, you know, and straight scamming people. Yeah. Right. So, yeah, when you think about it in that way, that's a good point. If Airbnb put as much into vetting the hosts as they did the guests, then that might change the game, particularly with the scamming of, you know, people finding out their house is on Airbnb and they're like, what? Sure. You know, what are you talking about? This house is for sale, you know, and so people, you know, oh yeah, I want to come see the house, and yeah, nonsense. So that is a good point, and actually that's a recommendation I'm going to send in to Airbnb.
Okay, there we go. I love that energy.
Honestly, like, it's not that hard. I remember we moved back here about 10 years ago. 10 years ago this month. We moved back here, and we hadn't lived here for quite some time, and moved back into my home that I own. And we got ready to turn on the water, not the electric, the water. They were like, we need a copy of your lease. I was like, what? I don't have a lease. It's my house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then we need a copy of your closing documents. I bought this house years ago. What are you talking about? And, oh, okay, well then just bring us a copy of the deed. To turn on the water? Yeah. And I was like, first of all, ma'am, we just retired from over 20 years in the Air Force. All that stuff is in storage. Yeah. They are going to move it here. I can't wait for that to take a bath. Yeah. So you can look on the county records and see our name. Like,
that easy.
You know what I'm saying? Go
That's public information.
Right. And she, oh no, our policy is, are you kidding me right now? So I had to get management involved because it was a deviation from their policy. So management got on. I explained the exact same situation. I said, I realized that person didn't have the authority to deviate from your policy, but you have my IDs, you have this, you have that, y'all got a computer. This is my husband and I, you know, here's my name, da-da-da. So they were like, oh yeah, we'll make it an exception for you. Now that's vetting to get water. To get water turned on.
Basic human necessity.
You know? And Airbnb doesn't make sure this person owns or is legally renting this property to host.
Yeah. They're just letting whoever.
You know what I'm saying? You fill out, you know it. You
Yeah.
go on, boom, 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 boom. You're listed. You know what I'm saying? So, and not dogging them. I want to be equal opportunity. Booking.com, VRBO, those are ones. Furnish Finders,
Yeah.
same thing, right? Exact same thing, no different. So I say that to say, now, there's no jerk meter, right? So if you do own it or you are legally renting it, there's not a jerk meter in there. So that has to come later. But the other thing that stuck out to me about this was, and that's why I had to take it back, because I was trying to remember, it's been a couple of weeks since I saw it. What I distinctly remembered was, now they have a hot tub, they have all these things, and she talked about that, but the kids were not running around outside. She didn't say we had a DJ, she said we had a gaming bus,
Right.
because they're gamers. So this isn't even a party bus that you think about when people have a party bus and they dancing and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
and the pole is there and da-da-da. This ain't no party bus like that. This is a gaming bus where you got kids who are sitting down
Right.
gaming.
Yeah.
Outside.
How much noise are you making?
I
Game.
mean, to be honest,
Well-
first of all,
That could get pretty noisy.
it can get a little active. But my thing is this,
Like,
a party bus, obviously they're leaving, they go. But a game bus, it's like they're inside a vehicle. They can get a little rambunctious and get a little excited. They're playing video games,
correct.
but they're outside. You know what I'm saying? And it's in the daytime, and these are kids.
Right.
I'm like, wouldn't this be the space and the time to where they could do that? Where they could be a little noisier? I mean, is this community like so tight on noise? Like, is noise like one of the biggest infractions that even kids will get penalized for it? Because I'm just like, that's
And
odd
how
to me.
loud are these kids when they're in a bus? Inside the bus, I can see you, but how loud are you that in my house on my property line, I'm still hearing you in the bus? Is that realistic, or am I out of touch with the gaming bus?
It could be like maybe doors are open. Who knows how many kids
Yeah.
are there? Kids could be a little loud. You might be able to hear them. But my thing is, like, there was a time where kids used to be outside and you could hear them and it didn't irritate people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where you had to
Right.
get kicked out of where you paid to be because of it.
Right.
I mean, at least someone would come up to you and it's like, hey, we can't hear what we're trying to do. It's that level. So can you just keep it? Like, that's the only thing that would need to happen.
Not
Right.
even that, dude. Seriously, if they have, the property has a hot tub. I specifically, because that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Which means there is a possibility that people have been out at the hot tub partying before.
Yeah.
With music and this and that and da
Chattering.
and blah, blah, blah. So if you're telling me you think this is louder than that,
Also, there's a time, like for my spot, it's like, you gotta be quiet after these hours.
correct. Now that's the second point. Thank you for skipping to that. She says they got the call about the kids were in bed at 9
Yeah.
watching a movie. So at the time the call happened, we don't know when the game bus left and all that. We don't know that. That part has not been disclosed to us. But at the time that the call came, people done took a bath and got into bed.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how many kids it is,
Yeah.
but it's not one. Right. So people have come in.
Game bus
probably
activities are over.
eaten, took a bath, got into bed, and are watching a movie.
Right.
She said to whoever, host, co-host, property manager, whoever's talking to her, representing the spot, And she says specifically that she says, do you hear the kids?
Yeah.
So why, to your point, are we waiting to after 9 to call about something that happened during the day, most likely? And no one's loud now.
Yeah.
That's the other crap meter that goes off.
Oh man, this is a crazy thing, and this is kind of connected, kind of not. But when I used to rent from a neighborhood with the HOA, where I had some stuff that was very similar to this energy, and I did music, and we had people over when we were doing stuff. I didn't think we were loud. I didn't know we were loud. No one told me we were loud. We had a cop come to our door late at night, in the rain, and he was like, "Hey, we got a complaint from someone." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know. Like, no one told me." And I was like, "Yeah." And when I came up, I didn't hear anything either. The cop was like, "I didn't hear anything either." So I mean,
just responded to the call.
I'm just responding to the call, and I was like, "The hours are this, so as long as you guys are doing whatever before this hours, that's the rule." And I was like, "Yeah," because I think he even came earlier than our quiet time. I think our quiet time was like at 10 on our lease, and he came at like 8 or 9, and I was just like, even if we were like,
was this Santa Rosa? Or?
It was Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa as a county has quiet hours that start at 9. Now I don't know if it was. I don't know when that was.
I don't know, but I remember when we signed the lease, I was specifically aware like 10 p.m. was the time where we were like, "Dog, that's when we got in quads." Okay. And
So
the cops
that's probably before the.
And the cops came before that, and no one came to us and talked to us. And it was a very similar thing. That's why I'm always like, I don't know what kind of energy this is. It's like, I would assume if someone had a complaint, they would come to the door and say it.
Well, I'm gonna
Come to you and say it.
Right.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate for that. We are in 2024, right? Last year on the news, and I can't remember exactly where this was, but a little kid was shot in the head for knocking on someone's door. Okay? So, he was supposed to go pick up his brother from somewhere, and he went to the wrong door accidentally. And this elderly gentleman shot him in the head. Okay? So, national news.
That's crazy.
Yes. Thankfully, he survived. Yes.
Dang.
Thankfully, by the grace of God, this boy survived. But yes, and there was a lot of
discussion.
a lot. It was very controversial. What I will say is that we are in a time where people shooting through doors, so I can understand some people watching these things, hearing these things on news are hesitant to go, because again, you and I are a certain kind of people, but we are not everybody.
Yeah.
And so some people, you knock on their door and simply say, "Hey, it's a little loud." Y'all might be fighting in the street, and people
are wild,
people are
especially in
blasting
America,
through the
man.
door.
Right.
Americans are wild. We're wild.
Yes, and so we have lost that humanity. We have lost that neighborly. We've lost that. I don't even want to say
I
we're
agree.
losing it,
I
but it's kind of gone.
And
it's rare now.
It's super unfortunate, and as a host, like, I think that's one of the things that I enjoy is about that human connection with people. And it's something that I value. Like, I've had strangers in my home, and I treat them with a certain dignity and respect, and they give it back, and we become friends. We exchange ideas and goods and services and a lot of relationships. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure my roommate right now is going to be someone who I'm going to have a relationship for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talk about family, being young black men, all this type of stuff. So, and had neighborly energy. Maybe it's because of the upbringing that I had from my mother and our family. But I brought this to this neighborhood I moved into, bro. I met everybody on the street. I walked up to them and introduced myself. I was that guy. I was like, I don't know if people are going to feel, because you're right. If I knock on somebody's door, they might be like, well, how I look, it might have triggered them. It might have. And I thought about it. So I'm like, I'm going to take the chance. But boom, everybody appreciate it. Now people wave to me. They see me, everybody home, they say, hey.
Please govern yourselves for their church announcements.
Wow.
We'd like for you to hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm, especially for a new channel like us. And Donte's experienced a lot of rejection, so he needs some likes in his life.
Somebody like me, please.
Also, please subscribe. Hit the notification button so you'll know when something new drops. Our giveaways are specific to our subscribers, so please subscribe so you can participate.
And ask us some questions. Leave us some comments.
Don't forget to share, because sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
Now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
We had a situation with the little dog that got out. And because I had built these relationships with people, you know, I didn't know what kind of energy they're going to have when we have a thing like this, an issue. But I'm not going to just, you know, part of me said I could just call someone and just have them deal with it. Call the police, call animal, call them, let them da-da-da. I went and wrote something down. I put in the mailbox, like, hey, we need to talk. Can you call me? We had a discussion that day, talked about it. We had a little course of action for when these things happen. It actually happened the next day. They said that, you know, they didn't know it was an issue. They were unaware. I was like, okay. And she said, I'm the only one who's ever said anything to her. Part of me was like, is that true? Part of me was like, that's kind of sad. Because I was like, this has been going on for a long time. Like, no one wants to go up to this person. You know, this is a person of color too. So I'm just like, no one, she's a woman. Like, no one wanted to come up to her and talk to her.
Listen, no, I mean, I believe that, because one of the things I had a conversation with somebody and I was like, you know, the quarantine, the pandemic didn't faze me a lick. Mm-hmm. Like, some people were like, oh, it was depressed. And I was like, tired of folks anyway. Right? So it didn't bother me at all. But I did look at my kids and I did see a difference with not having that social interaction. The fact is, we were created to be social beings.
Right.
For sure.
And so we do need that. Unfortunately, we have allowed more to divide us than bring us to. You can't tell me one person we have more in common than we have that's not in common.
Right.
And I love that, you know, my children have grown up in a military veteran type community, because it when you're in them trenches, you don't see no color.
Yeah.
You don't see any we just trying to get out of here and everyone get home to their families safely. And I'm grateful to God for those experiences and those connections. And so to live in a community that is wired that way,
yeah,
is a beautiful thing, because now you're seeing how rare that can be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's crazy to us that you can't go to the neighbor and knock on the door.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you know this story. When we were moving into the house we're in now, your brother was helping my husband and what's that? Because this was during the pandemic.
I'm already like connecting the dots. Go ahead.
Yeah. Movers.
So y'all don't know my
available.
brother. My brother is a very melanated brother. Let's just say that. You know what I'm saying? Some might refer to him as darkness, midnight. You know what I'm saying? Chocolate dropper.
That's right. Black is beautiful.
For
Black
sure.
Is beautiful. And so we're I had surgery, so I couldn't really help. We couldn't get movers, we couldn't get anything. We're like shut down part of the pandemic, so no one would out. So there, U-Haul was like, hey, you can get a U-Haul, we're gonna leave the keys there. Like, it was that part of quarantine. No one, people were shut down. So like, you're not coming in to get the keys. You got a box. You go, put that in there, get the key. You get the U-Haul, bring it back, put it back in there. Like, it was that part of quarantine when we moved. So they're trying to, move the stuff. Thankfully, we weren't moving a lot. So they were doing that. We went to get them food because they had been working all day. So we go through the drive-thru, grab some food, come back. As soon as I come back, he's telling me, he's like, yeah, y'all neighbors just walking all in the house. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, one of the rooms in the back. They're putting the furniture there, and they hear voices because they had both of the doors open so they could bring the furniture.
Right.
So they're hearing voices saying, "Wow, this is nice. Oh, and the chandelier. And, oh, wow, look at this." And they're like, "Well, surely that's not them."
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because
They would know.
The house looks like, right?
Right.
So surely not Michelle. So who is this? So they come out of the bedroom now to like see who this is, and it's a couple who are my neighbors, right? And they have brought their sister, right, who's in town, and they were like, "Hi, yeah, well, we
Inside
just
the
came."
house.
They are inside the house.
That's crazy.
Walked
yeah.
in.
Especially in the state of Florida, bro. That's a different level of like entitlement or comfortability, whatever it is. But man, in Florida, you have the right to stay on your ground. Like,
Yeah.
it's your
I was about
property,
to say
like,
that.
You can boom with
Yeah.
no repercussions.
And you know who's a demographic who's not concerned about standing your ground? That's the demographic that did it.
Yeah.
Right? So they just walked in, and now I met them, nice
Yeah.
people, whatever. But they were very taken aback, like, who does that? Like,
Yeah.
who does? So they have to come out. And it wasn't even like you walked in and said, "Hello, is anybody home?" No, they're just walking in, assessing
Yeah.
the surroundings. And if they weren't doing that verbally and outwardly, they would have even known they were in the house.
It's literally it's less about the people who are there and more like the asset. Like, who has this asset? What's the asset look like? They're probably just trying to just get information about like who's living, like,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just a weird way to make that, to have
do
that
that.
experience. You know what I'm saying?
Weird way to go about it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely weird.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
Absolutely entitled. Absolutely, come on. Ask.
Yeah. Didn't talk to anybody. You're just,
Say
Like, you could just
hi.
wait at the door.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Make yourself known. I
Something.
would never.
Something.
Can you imagine if we did that?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine if someone was moving into the house and we just walked into it saying, "Oh yeah, oh wow, hey," like just in the house,
911 would never be dialed faster.
bro? You know, like I in my right mind wouldn't. Like, at no level in my life, whether I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, would I ever feel like that would be okay?
Exactly. Because you know what? We know better, right?
Yeah.
But again, you don't even get it. You don't even get it. I really don't think it was crazy, malicious, or
Right.
just like,
No, yeah.
don't get it.
But they just have a completely different reference point
Absolutely.
of what's fine and
Acceptable,
not fine.
and yeah, man.
Like,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
So disassociated with just
Correct.
like,
Yeah.
Now, the plus is you didn't feel threatened by us, that you couldn't do that. That's a plus, right?
Yeah.
But the other side is, could we do that? I don't know. I really don't. And so,
And the final point is, it's just weird.
it's called respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with asking if you can come in. And so that's what you do, And again, on top of it, we in the pandemic. Nobody had on a mask.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But so they felt comfortable enough to do that.
man.
And again, my husband, your brother, they're great. They're great sports. So they're just like, "Hey, how you?"
Man, you know what?
Your husband is your brother?
No.
No.
But both of them
They
were
were
involved
there.
with the moving.
They were
Oh,
there
okay,
moving
gotcha.
together.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
couldn't have ran into more.
You don't have to look far.
They could have run into nicer individuals.
Right.
You know,
Right,
my
right,
husband
right.
and my brother are very nice guys,
Okay.
very nice human beings. Like,
Cool.
the any confrontation is like, that's like the last resort, and it's gonna be the most respectable confrontation you probably ever have with those guys. You know, a guy like me, even when I'm trying to be that, like, I think it's gonna be a little bit of intensity where it's like there's gonna be like a look. There's gonna be some body language. It's just like,
hey,
hold up,
what the fuck are you doing?
I'm not okay. Like, you got, like a dog that like, ears bark up. You just kind of like, hold up, man. Like, present yourself. Like, we gotta. There's some things that have to happen first, right?
We gotta clear this up right now,
expeditiously, and then I'll lower the guard. But yeah, man. I mean,
and then I'm on the other end of the
yeah.
Right. So because even if they telling me, I'm like, what house did they go to? I'm like, wait. No, I'm finna walk in their house.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have some stuff to say, right? Which house?
Like, pull
Where
up.
did they go?
You ring the doorbell as soon as they open it, like, oh my God, is this y'all's house?
Now I'm not gonna be that nice. But it's like
Since we walk in each other's houses,
excuse me, and you didn't have a mask on, right? So I would have had all kind of. But and I said when they told me, I said, see, that's why God sent me to get y'all some food, cause He knew. He knew.
I shouldn't be around that.
He knows who He made.
Well, I'll say this, man, because I mean, like, this is a subject that it's related to, this rental space, is hosting space, because, dealing with these, no one wants to have these things happen. But
Absolutely.
Eventually, if you're in this space long enough as a host or a guest, you're going to probably have some kind of situation with the opposite party. And just the best way to handle it is something that you should have some kind of protocol on, to where, you allow people the opportunity to correct the habit. You should have things explained in your rules. If things are very serious infractions, you know what I'm saying? If noise is a big deal where you can get kicked out immediately, it should be written, you know what I'm saying? That like you immediately determine, like something like that should be communicated, because I think most people are going to think in their perspective of like, I'm going to get a warning if I do cross the line. Some people just don't know, like the situations I described. It's like, I didn't know I was noisy until someone tells me I'm noisy. Like, especially if you're not from there, you don't know what's an acceptable noise level for other people. It's like, I assume that people are used to these things at certain times of the day.
Right.
So more of the story is like, if you're a host, definitely have your protocols with these things, and definitely just try to treat people with a little bit of dignity and respect. We don't want, legal actions to be a part of any experience with anybody, because it ruins it for everybody. I think, in my opinion, when the cops have to be called and it becomes a whole thing, like the Fantasia thing. Y'all can check it out, the full thing on YouTube. We'll have a link to it. But, it's messy. It's a messy thing for everybody. It's time, it's money, it's emotions that you could put towards something else, man. So, like, that should be like a last resort, give people a chance to correct things, in my opinion. But
For sure.
And I do want to read Airbnb's response to.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if Airbnb even knew about this incident prior to Fantasia, going live with it, in fairness. But it came out after she went live. But like I said, I'm not even sure if they knew about it before then. So what they published in their statement, and I'm going to read it verbatim. Hi, Fantasia. Airbnb does not condone discrimination in any way. You can view our non-discrimination policy here, and then they added a link to it, which we can also add to our podcast.
Bet.
Please send us a DM with the email address connected to your booking so our team can follow up. Thank you. So that was their statement. What I will say in terms of Airbnb's strides that I have seen to ensure, or try to ensure, non-discrimination is, in the early days of Airbnb, and you may even remember this, in the early days of Airbnb, you were not necessarily, you could see people's pictures and stuff before they booked and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That changed.
Yeah.
And that changed specifically as a result of complaints of, hey, they let me book and then they canceled when they saw my profile pic. Yes. And
People be doing that.
right. And I know someone personally, who that happened to, and she said to me, that is actually why I started doing Instant Book, where they don't have that opportunity to kind of screen
Like review
and blah
and-
blah blah.
yeah.
I see it, I book it, it's done.
Right.
And that's it. So that is one of the things that, and I want to give props to Airbnb for even doing that. So they do that. Again, we can name other platforms that are not as diligent about it. But at the end of the day, like Donte says, at some point in life, I think all people of all races and all colors will probably run into some degree of discrimination. I agree with you 110%. I feel like telling someone to leave early is an absolute last resort.
Yeah.
Absolute last resort. I'm with you 110%. I do believe in addressing issues as soon as they occur. Now, I want to say in fairness to the potential host or the host, perhaps the people were complaining and I was out and I didn't get the messages to 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Do you on the other side of the story?
we don't know. We haven't heard anything from the alleged host.
If someone has a video to it, if someone has it, send it to us. We'll definitely
Put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments, man. Somebody hunt that up.
Yeah, and we probably never will, but so I just wanted to throw that so it won't look like we're taking sides. There could be a reason why it was late by the time they reached out to him, but in fairness, and I've even dealt with this with cleaning people in the past, I'm coming with evidence in terms of what the issue is. So if there's an alleged video, why wasn't it sent to them?
Yeah, people are weird about that. People are very weird about that because I think that's how my mind operates. I mean, when I talked about the issue with my neighbor and the dog that was kind of out, she was like, she didn't know. So when I told you it happened the next day, I had a picture of it and I sent it to her. And I was like, this is the proof. So it's just not some hearsay stuff where I'm just making up some stuff. I was like, look, it's riding the street. It's looking at me. It's looking me dead in my eyes. Like, what's up? So I was just like, if you have complaints, I mean, even our judicial system, you're supposed to have evidence to state your claim. Otherwise, it's like he said or she said. And it's like, you can't really determine stuff off of that. So it's like, if you got a case, it makes sense to just kind of let people see so even they can be aware, that they can hear.
And I'm going to bring another element. What if this particular HOA disapproves of or frowns upon or something like that Airbnb in their neighborhood?
Yeah.
So perhaps it was not you getting kicked out really about you, but now I've been busted for having an Airbnb that I'm not supposed to have.
Hey, I had something like that go down in Atlanta years ago where I was like, went down to the people like, hey, we can't get in some issue with our room. We couldn't get in or something like that. Where was it? And they're like, oh, what room you in? And then after a couple conversations, we're like, yeah, we got an Airbnb spot. And they're like, oh, we're not allowed to have Airbnb in this area. And she was like, well, you guys traveled, you're here for your performance, y'all can stay, but we'll talk to the people who own it. And then they kind of took it out on us. But we didn't know they were doing it illegally. We didn't know. So that could have been a situation too, where the host was like allowing something that really should have been allowed in that area.
Right. And so, and you're seeing that more with some areas cracking down on Airbnb. So you have people who are, illegally or sneakily doing it. And then when it's like, oh, don't tell my neighbors. There's an Airbnb. You're my cousin. Right, who's coming to visit and crazy stuff like that. So I know those things have happened. So it might not have been racially motivated. To your point, it could be a million reasons. But what I think we both agree, all three of us agree, is that it definitely wasn't handled the right way.
Right.
And it definitely is not the ideal way to run business. And at the end of the day, I think everybody agrees with that.
For sure. All right.
Yep.
Tell us what you guys think about these situations. If you're a guest, you're a host.
drop in the comments, you know, and we love to hear them. Till next time.
Blessed like, S-Class, when you're fully redeemed, to give you what you want. The road to Orlando, he took me to and from. Not one accident done, now that's what's happened, none. Since an adolescent, I've been blessed without a question. To prosper, I've been destined, past, future, and my present. I praise you because of you, Lord, I've learned some lessons. Diligently get on the knee when the devil starts messing. I thank the Lord because I never had to slang, yeah. Was raised right, and my sister was the same way. And we was taught how to get down on our knees and pray for every single blessing on each and every day. Jesus took 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread.